Hello everyone, welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're all good and well. So time for a Sunday album review, and this time around I'm reviewing the 7th studio album from progressive melodic death metal band Scar Symmetry. This is the second album in their trilogy of albums called the Singularity. This is phase 2 Xenotaph, which came out on Friday just gone via Nuclear Blast. The album is 11 tracks and 59 minutes in length. So in the current lineup of this band, you've got Per Nilsson on lead guitar and keyboards and backing vocals. You've got Lars Palmqvist on clean vocals, Robert Karlsson on harsh vocals, Benjamin Ellis on rhythm guitar, and Henrik Olsen on drum duties. And so this whole trilogy of albums, this is the second one, all revolve around this theme of transhumanism, or the transhumanism movement, as I understand it. And transhumanism is sort of a movement which advocates the use of technology to kind of enhance human life and cognition. At least that's what I read up online, and let's hope my source was a reliable one. So that's what I understand anyway. And this is an album which is certainly pretty, you can tell it's got that concept to it. I mean, the album title gives it away. It's a prog album. It's kind of this deep concept behind it. You know, anything which is the Singularity, phase 2, Xenotaph, immediately you know you're going to be saying, oh, that sounds very proggy. And yeah, it's a pretty proggy album. But this album is really, really great. I mean, it just has a lot of just outstanding moments. I've talked recently in my reviews about what I call killer blows on albums, that you're always looking for those moments that really stand out. And this album has no shortage of those. And yet, despite, I think, the ambitiousness of this album, its concept, its musicianship, it all does tie together pretty well too. And so the end result is you get a banger. This is a banger. This is one of my favourites from this year so far, without any doubt at all. It's really, really good. And let's go into the tracks of this gem a little bit more. So you start off with Chrononautilus, which immediately hits you. I mean, there's no wasting time with 5-minute introduction tracks here. You just get hit with this really heavy riff. And go straight into things, and a lot happens kind of just in the first minute of that track. You know, you kind of get a few vocal moments, some change in rhythm, and all sorts going on, and that pretty much gives you a bit of a taster for what you can expect for a lot of the rest of this album. But it's a great way to start the album, Chrononautilus. Really good track to kick things off. Scorched Quadrant, I think, explores the band's slightly power metal leaning side, and by power metal I mean that their choruses sometimes remind me a bit of a chorus that might get used by a band like Stratovarius. But obviously there's that fusion with this kind of Gothenburg melodic death style as well within that. So you kind of get all of that in the mix here in this sound. And it's just when they pull it off, they pull it off very, very well. Scorched Quadrant is another great track on the album. Now, the track I really wanted to talk about a bit more on this album, just because it really stood out. And the more I listened to it, I've listened to it several times now, and it just gets better and better and better with every listen, is Altergeist. This is the 4th track on this album. Now, not only is the track good, I think it would be good even without the guitar solos, but there's this just whirlwind of guitar solos on this song. These solos are both kind of outrageous and beautiful at the same time. A little bit almost neoclassical, but they just, you know, I'm not sure that's quite the right term, because they're just really beautiful solos that work well within the song. And there's this outro of this solo. It's just fantastic. It's just really, really good. So yeah, Altergeist is for me, yeah, one of the best tracks on the album. Reichsfall is a little bit more straightforward, I would say, than Altergeist, showcasing the band's good, cleaner vocal abilities on this track as well. And it's also a pretty memorable track on my first listen. It was Reichsfall that I think I remembered out of all the tracks. So that one's a good one to get you into the album, I think, Reichsfall. Digiphrenia, I mean, this one kind of hits you a bit more emotionally. I found, at least with me, I found a bit more of an emotional pull with this song. Again, showcasing the band's vocal talents, and a nice cleaner breakdown towards the end of the song as well that I thoroughly enjoyed. Gridworm is pretty pulverising, loads of tempo changes and changes all over the place in this track actually. There's a bit of a fusion even with kind of Van Halen-like keyboard moments towards the end of the song, which again adds another kind of dimension, I guess, to the music that's on this album. I did find, if anything, as maybe just one of my more minor criticisms on the album, and there's not much to criticise here. I mean, to be honest, this is nitpicking. What I would say is nitpicking, but I did find some of the changes on the album were quite abrupt and didn't always feel completely natural. But that aside, I mean, it is a tour de force of proggy melodic death metal and I'm not sure much is going to be as good as or better than this in this year. This was really good stuff. One of my other favourite tracks on the album came towards the end, A Voyage, with Tailored Meteors. And I think you get sort of just more of that classic sounding 90s melodic death style, Gothenburg style guitar riffing here. It's just really great. And again, they develop the track while it evolves into more than just that as well as you go through the song. So yeah, and this album is great. The closer, Xenotaph, also worth a mention, although I think, you know, it kind of slowed right down at the end. They let it kind of go on a bit, I suppose, because it was the kind of final track. But I wasn't sure they needed to extend it quite as long as they did for that last track. But the album doesn't, you know, it's just under an hour and you are entertained pretty much the whole duration for me of this album. It's a really good, really strong album. And I'm going to give this one, perhaps predictably, a 9 out of 10. Following on from my 9 out of 10 for the Cloak album that I did a couple of weeks back. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Don't forget to drop a sub if you enjoy my album reviews. Otherwise, until the next time from me, everybody, bye for now.